democracy inclusive of everyone. And for that alone, and for the courage it took to do that, in a climate of fear, in a climate of autocracy, in a climate of fascism, and a climate of anti-Semitism, we owe Fianna Fáil a debt of gratitude. They laid the foundations for the democracy that we have today. And they did what none of the other parties in government were willing to do: renounce that absolute power to change the laws of the state as they wished and restore democracy. And for that, we owe them a debt. No, thank you. Fianna Fáil also defended and made peace. We were told they were a party of empty ideals. But they've always taken the peaceful approach to the North, ladies and gentlemen. We were told that they were intransigent in the North for many years. Well, that's because they brought the extremist Republican fringe that they represented along. But it was they, unlike Fine Gael, who were willing to negotiate with Sinn Féin and the IRA in secret, with secret talks, when no one else was willing to do so. It was they who invested the political capital and risked their reputations to bring peace to the North. It was secret talks held under the auspices of Charlie Haughey and Albert Reynolds, with the likes, including the likes of John Hume and David Trimble, that eventually led to the Good Friday Agreement. None of the opposition parties can say as much, ladies and gentlemen. They put their political reputations on the line at the expense of their quest for power. Ladies and gentlemen, they're not a power-hungry party, they're a party of the people. They renounced absolute power in 1937. They risked their power when they entered into negotiations with Sinn Féin. Fundamentally, ladies and gentlemen, this motion asks you to believe a number of things. The judgment that we owe Fianna Fáil a debt of gratitude has been made many times, and the people have voted consistently for the motion. Either we believe that the people of Ireland are all idiots, or we believe that there's something inherent in Fianna Fáil which the people respect and the people appreciate. I'm inclined to believe the latter, and frankly, I think you agree with me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not claiming that the Fianna Fáil party is perfect. I'm not claiming that they haven't made mistakes. But I think these achievements, which were unwilling to be done by anyone else, stand to their credit, and in the ledger, blot out anything else that may stand against them. I'm proud to stand in proposition.
Thank you, Angus. And now for the opposition, Sean Quigley from Griffith College, Dublin. Sean.
Thanks, Mom. Chairman, adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. They've thrown me over there in a dark corner for over an hour now, and no one's been listening to me. If I was George Lee, I'd have stormed home by now. It is an absolute honour and privilege to be here tonight speaking in the final of the Irish Times. Indeed, I'm humbled to be here among some of the best minds in the country. These are truly amazing individuals, smart, good-looking, witty people, and I'm very grateful they agreed to adjudicate tonight's final. Ladies and gentlemen, so far I haven't been buying what the proposition have been selling to me. And in fact, from what I can see, they don't seem to understand themselves what they're saying. We've been told we owe Fianna Fáil a debt of gratitude purely because they're Irish, because they've pandered to everyone. We've been told by the last speaker that either Irish people are idiots or there's something inherent about Fianna Fáil, but the speaker before that told us that Irish people are idiots and that they are stubborn and don't want integrity from politics. I want to take a step back and consider what it is really we need to ask ourselves. I submit that it's by considering the gap between the type of country we deserve and the type of country we got. I want to do this by asking 3 questions, only one of which I have an answer for. But these are the key questions facing modern Ireland, and the one everybody wants answers to. 1, why do babies' clothes have pockets? 2, who coined the phrase, And 3, are we happy with the state of politics in our country? Ladies and gentlemen, in my speech, I will consider if a debt of gratitude should ever be owed to any political party, and then show, looking at the current political landscape, why we certainly do not owe a debt of gratitude to Fianna Fáil. Ladies and gentlemen, it hasn't been considered this evening that perhaps our default position should be to owe a debt of gratitude to no political party, nor is it being discussed that it could be damaging to a political party for it to feel it is owed a debt of gratitude. A party who feels it is owed such a debt is prone to be complacent or even arrogant, assuming that people will do what they are told because, sure, they owe us one. We saw such complacency demonstrated in the first Lisbon referendum, where the government didn't sell it to us, they just told us what to do. Nothing proved that more than Brian Cowen conceding himself that he hadn't even read the treaty. Feeling you were owed a favour lowers the value of decision-making. A grateful electorate can lead to a complacent government. Moreover, it results in voters doing a backward-looking appraisal rather than a future-looking projection. If one feels they are owed a debt of gratitude, they are likely to overlook shortcomings, as we've seen from this side of the House here. At the very least, they are prone to allowing a political party a higher margin of error than it should ever be entitled to. There are 2 points in the abstract that I feel transcend party politics and reflect that owing a debt of gratitude is a bad thing both for the party and the electorate. I now want to consider the nature of politics and how Fianna Fáil is directly responsible for the level of dishonesty and corruption which is considered acceptable in this country. It will fit in nicely with what I just said regarding harm to the electorate, in much the same way that an envelope full of cash would fit nicely into a hotel room wardrobe. Ladies and gentlemen, no thank you, not this time. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a major problem with politics in this country, and it disgusts me the way some politicians go about their business and how desensitized we have become to the corruption. There are far too many examples of Fianna Fáil corruption over the years to do now what Toyota might describe as a total recall. Nonetheless, whether, as discussed before, it is their blatant disdain and contempt for the law of privacy or the lack of respect for the media, as seen when they tapped a much-respected journalist's phone, as we've heard before, or John O'Donoghue, or any of the other examples one could mention, there is one thing that needs to be highlighted, and this is the fundamental point that the second proposition speaker is ignoring. It's not just the corruption or the actions of the individuals concerned which is a disgrace. It's how the Fianna Fáil party consistently responds to that corruption. Very briefly.
Through self-analysis, tribunals and
No, I don't accept
themselves
that.
as
No,
members.
thank you. I don't accept that. The correct answer I was looking for there is that the correct answer is what they do as a party. They close ranks, they rally around each other, and they have no greater ideological calling beyond holding on to power no matter what. They look after their own at all costs, their own people and their own interests. Because Fianna Fáil have forgotten that they do not own this country, we simply ask them to run the country's government. Ladies and gentlemen, they have, over the last 80 years, normalised corruption. Neil spoke earlier on about how they're such a great party because they pandered to everyone. I submit that they simply pandered to themselves. They have set the bar, the norm, the standard of practice for politics in this country. And as we mentioned before on this side of the House, it is significantly less than we would accept and miles from anything we should owe a debt of gratitude for. Nothing illustrates this better than the current Willie O'D controversy. The government passed a motion of confidence in a barrister and Minister for Defence that, despite the whiff of possible perjury, even more relevant, the Green Party supported that motion, showing that they too are now compromised, infected by the Fianna Fáil way of doing business. On Wednesday, when Dan Boyle released a statement and Vincent Martin wrote in the Irish Times, it showed a party divided, disgusted at what had been done. The Greens have now been infected, all because they toed the Fianna Fáil line. But there's a deeper issue here. In 30 years' time, no thank you, when our kids are watching Reeling in the Years, they will ask why our politicians didn't get fired when they clearly should have. How was it that ministers lined their pockets or made unforgivable errors, and when caught, they and their party fudged the truth or lied? It'll be easier to explain to them the popularity of Jedward than our acceptance of the Fianna Fáil modus operandi. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you'll be asked to vote on this motion, probably by a show of hands, possibly using 52 million euros worth of defective electric polling slips. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, when making up your mind, don't be fooled by razzle-dazzle or showbiz politics or showtime politics. Acknowledge Fianna Fáil for their successes, but also their failings. Ladies and gentlemen, politics in this country could and should be so much more, but we have become used to deceit, corruption and cronyism. We have accepted the Fianna Fáil way of doing things. Perhaps even we have become desensitised to the lack of social progression in this country. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Look beyond individuals. Look beyond particular successes and particular failures and ask yourself 2 questions. 1, should any political party ever be out of debt of gratitude? And are we happy with how the business of politics is conducted in this country? I'm not, and I beg you to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. And now, for the proposition, I call on Shane Cranley from King's Inns.
Favouritism. Lord Trimble, Madam Chair, adjudicators, members of the opposition proposition, members of the House. What I want to do today is re-evaluate this debate we've had from first proposition. What we expected today was a debate about sort of the ledger, the accountants among us who wanted to have a ledger plus and pros, and those of us who want to take the higher line. But thankfully, they've taken a higher line. However, that higher line taken by the opposition is a bizarre one. It is that you, the people sitting before me, are not right to rule yourselves. You don't have the ability to rule yourselves. Who are you for voting Fianna Fáil into power? I mean, the intelligentsia doesn't like it. Well, I say Ireland's more than that. And I say Ireland deserves more than that and has got more than that from Fianna Fáil in power. What myself and Neil say is that the unique organic connection between Fianna Fáil and the people of Ireland allows Fianna Fáil to rule in a pragmatic, centrist way. I'm going to show you exactly why that is a very good thing. And secondly, why, once it's established they can set the march of the nation, why that march of the nation has indeed been a very good thing and why the Irish should be proud today and not like the naysayers on the opposition. So let's talk about grassroots. We've heard that grassroots is bad. We've heard that somehow having links to the lowest man in Ireland is a very bad thing. We should be all in Dáil Éireann and we should not have any time for them. That's absolutely wrong. It's a strength to have your finger on the pulse of the nation, to have it in your party. It's a strength to know where the country wants to go because it allows you to change. And adaptation, as Darwin will tell you, is how you survive. And that's what we say Ireland has done and Fianna Fáil has allowed us to do, no thank you, by not dogmatically adhering to some 19th century political creed or ideology. But more importantly about grassroots is that you see where the country wants to go and you can act with that. What you see, ladies and gentlemen, is what they want and what they expect from you. What we've heard from the opposition in terms of this is, no, Fianna Fáil have had an 84-year swindle where they pulled the wool over the eyes of every voter. I mean, that is the greatest story never told and never will be told because it's not true, ladies and gentlemen. The idea that somehow they've been able to pull their eyes over the people is just wrong, ladies and gentlemen. No, thank you. But more importantly, what having local government and local representation does is it allows you to bring people with you. When tough choices have to be made, people come with you. Because, I'm sorry guys, you might like the fact that Fianna Fáil fixed Mikey's pothole, but the Fianna Fáiler who fixed Mikey's pothole can then go to Mikey and say, actually now we need to make cuts to improve the economy. Now we need to take the necessary steps to go forward within our country. And the fact that they can represent it and the fact we don't have this disenfranchisement between Kildare Street and the rest of the country is a very, very good thing. And I'll take Conor on that.
Shane, when the Fianna Fáil candidate or representative goes back to Mikey, he then says, fix my lamppost, not, sure, I'll take that cut. That's the nature of the politics they've created in this country.
No, he doesn't, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't do that. And we can see that today, as Neil said to you. We can see it by the support, the blanket support Brian Lennon has, when he has to make public sector cuts, unlike Greece. We saw that when we had to redefine our sovereignty by joining the EU. We saw that when Fianna Fáil made all the big choices, such as giving up our claim to the 6 counties with the Good Friday Agreement. We saw that Fianna Fáil can take the nation with them, and that's because they're also the person who does you the favour when you need it, and that's a good thing. And about local politics, I am sorry, but we are a country that has 51 hospitals. The top 6 universities in Ireland are the only 6 universities in Ireland. Ireland is a small place. Local politics is national politics. There's much more of an interaction between local politics and national politics here than any other country. We're only 4.5 million people. And to try to say we can divorce this by some ideology is just missing the point. But moving on to why pragmatic and centrist government is actually a very good thing. We've heard, well, other people do it better, and who are you Irish to pick a centrist government? I say we're very clever. Because when you look at countries that have very factionist governments, let's look at the UK. When the UK elects the Tory party, when the Tory party leaves, people are disenfranchised. It's the north of England, it's the coal miners in Wales. Pick your example however you want. In America, when the Republicans are in power, they have this ideological, for some reason, a claim to private health care. So the poor are left sick and dying. People are left behind when you stick to ideologies. However, what we're able to do is we're able to take the middle road and to include everybody. Yes, Fianna Fáil has benefited certain sectors of society, but it's also benefited everybody. All ships have risen with the tide when Fianna Fáil. The only people who could ever claim to be somehow annoyed and left behind by Fianna Fáil government is perhaps Fine Gael. I don't really care. Also, what pragmatism allows you to do is it allows you to self-correct. We've heard that Fianna Fáil have made mistakes. Of course they've made mistakes. No one's perfect. We're only humans. But more importantly, being a centrist pragmatic party, as Neil told you, allows you to change. It allows you to go from the necessary protectionism of De Valera to the outward-looking economics of Lamas. It allows you to go from the supply-side economics of Haughey to Haughey's right-wing, let's cut the public servant. It allows you change, and that's a good thing, because it's change that's not by revolution or by the social upheaval of different factions fighting. It's organic change from within one body, and that's a very, very good thing. And finally, I want to get on to this idea of, I've shown you why Fianna Fáil can set the march for the nation. So let's evaluate that march, and let's see, do we indeed owe them a gratitude? What we've heard is, Ireland is not the place it could be. Nowhere in the world is the place it could be. No one lives in a utopia. What we have to ask is have we had a good time of it? Have we done things we're proud of? And I say yes. I say it's because of Fianna Fáil. I say when De Valera made the key issue of making the people sovereign in 1937, he set us on that march. He gave us democracy in a time when fascism and communism was knocking on our door. But more importantly, he gave the people the opportunity to adapt. Niamh says the Constitution told her to make tea. But it also gave her one of the most developed human rights systems we've ever seen, and it also gave her the vote. And more importantly, it gave her and her fellow people the ability to change the Constitution, the ability to bring it with us. And that's a very good thing, because that keeps consistency within our nation. Also, in terms of Northern Ireland, it was Fianna Fáil, the party who gave out the hand of democracy in 1926 to violent Republicans, who again were the only people in 1998 who could give out the sudden hand of democracy to the violent Republicans in Northern Ireland and bring them with us to a peaceful Ireland. No other party could have done this. Fine Gael has to answer to right-wing town merchants. Labour has to go back to a left-wing ideological core. But Fianna Fáil embraces all of us due to its grassroots structures, and that's why it can go forward, and that's why it can prosper. Ladies and gentlemen, for 87 years, Fianna Fáil have been at the forefront of allowing Ireland to take her place in the nations of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight let Robert Emmet's epitaph be written, and let us owe a debt of gratitude to Fianna Fáil. I beg to propose a motion.
Thank you, Shane. And now I'd like to call on Conor McAndrew from the LNH in opposition.
Lord Trimble, adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen. According to the proposition, vaguity is good. Nondescription is a virtue. Fianna Fáil is a shapeless blob, and that should be championed. All hail this great Teflon chameleon. In this instance, ladies and gentlemen, we look at the fact that Fianna Fáil has nothing and yet apparently represents everything in the Ireland of today and yesteryear. And we don't think it's reasonable or fair to owe them anything but our disappointment at their conduct through their history. When we look at what Ian has already told you, We look at the fact that there is an absence of moral courage in how they go about running this country of ours, and also the fact that they have crippled our political system through parochialism and small-minded individualism that has isolated us from the world in the past, examples cited such as post the Constitution in the late 30s and early 40s, or just each and every one of us as they fix our problem, not our neighbourhood's problem, not our community problem, not our